This is quite a busy press conference today because we've got a Sunday section as well. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone in each section, so I apologise.
Can I ask Vinny a private question before?
No, you can't. No, absolutely not. Right, Vinny, if you want to start off, absolutely not. If you'd like to turn it off, Vinny, and don't play along, please. Let's just kick this thing off.
I think I know what was coming there.
No, you don't. No, go on.
Jurgen, first of all, I just wonder if you've been given any clear idea in the last couple of hours as to whether or not Alisson, Fabinho and Firmino will be available to play. And could you even go as far as taking the risk in playing them and then dealing with the fallout afterwards?
No. A little bit. That I know, but not only since the last few hours, that Bobby will not be available, but that is because of the injury he had in the last game. And well, the rest, no. But it's a really difficult situation, and it's really tricky for all the clubs and players especially, because we should not forget in this moment that the players wanted to play these games. The clubs wanted to let the players go, but it was just not possible. So I think nobody would have told us or would have expected that we just say, yeah, go there and then we will sort it while you are away. And maybe it's likely that you come home and have to go 10 days in a quarantine hotel. So that's the problem what we had. So we couldn't do that. But now it looks like, in the end, with all the things what happened in a moment, the real punishment get the players. Because if they can't play, that's what they do. That's what they love to do, and of course the clubs as well. But let's push that aside for a moment. It's about the players, and that's really not okay. We didn't decide that the players have to go. The world is in a pandemic. We all are still. In some moments it looks like it's not, but in other moments we get always reminded, and that's good, because we have to be really on top of that until the end of the pandemic. But the football players so far got very often exemptions, and that didn't lead to any spread or whatever in the cities when a football player was positive, which did happen from time to time, obviously. But because of all the things we do during the week, with all the things, how often we get tested, how early we get knowledge about it, that's completely different to the normal society out there. If we get tested 3 times a week, so and that means that we have it, and then maybe the next day we have a test and then we know it, and then we are in quarantine. So it didn't happen a lot. But there was no solution for that, and the only thing what the FIFA and CONMEBOL did together, they decided we not only have an international break, that's clear, that's games, but then we put in another match day. We should not forget that. They played this morning at 1:30. And Brazil, by the way, in our case it's Brazil, in other team and for other clubs it's other countries, but Brazil won all 3 games in that international break. But still, there's a complaint to the FIFA, and the FIFA tells us now that we are obviously, in the moment, I don't know exactly what's going on in the moment, that we cannot play the players. When before the last international break, we had that meeting I had that meeting with Arsene Wenger, and unfortunately I don't know the name of the other guy of the FIFA, but we had a meeting when they showed me the plans for the World Cup. I'm sure you want to talk about that later. And when in that moment I got the message from our guys, there's no exemption from the government for the players. And all 3 people in the room agreed, yeah, of course, then the players cannot go. So, and now we have that situation. So this is the situation, and we still don't know who we can line up at the weekend, but that's the smallest problem of all the problems, because in next time we don't know how the pandemic develops. There are maybe 10, 15 other countries on a red list. I hope it's not the case, but we cannot ignore that it's possible. And if that happens, then the same problem again with all the players, and we will still think then, okay, the clubs and the players have to get the punishment in the end for something we are absolutely not influential in, and that's for sure not right.
So even with this situation still unresolved, Jurgen, I wonder just how relieved you are after this international break, because you had a very different situation to deal with as regards Naby Keita. And a couple of days ago as well, the injury situation could have looked a little bit worse as well.
Yeah, what happened in Guinea, of course, is so Naby's here, Naby's well, that's all fine, but of course it's not good as well. So, but we again, we are not influential there. We tried what we could do to bring the players out as quick as possible, together with other clubs. Obviously, Ray Huffin did an incredible job in the club and was organizing together with other people from other clubs the flight. In the end, the European players could leave the country, but in 3 weeks' time, there's the next international break, and nobody knows how it will be there. That's true. And with Virgil, yes, Virgil is fine. Virgil trained yesterday. And is fine. All the other players who came back from international duties are fine as well.
Okay, thank you, Vinny. I've got everyone I can take really in the open section, by the way, now, so apologies if you've got hands up and I can't get to you. In order, Damien, followed by Juliet, James from TalkSport, James from Merseyside, Carl Markham from Press Association, but Damien next from Premier League Productions.
Hello there. You mentioned Virgil van Dijk there, and I just wondered what your thoughts were when you heard about him going down and perhaps saw him going down in the game for Holland, given his injury track record over the last year or so.
I wouldn't say I'm not sure if I understand right, but it's a track record. He had one injury. And it was this was a really difficult one and a completely different challenge to the challenge there. Yeah, I saw it, and of course I was concerned, but then my broadcaster switched off. And so I was in contact with my assistant who watched it, obviously, I think, on Dutch TV. And I asked him, is he okay? And he just texted back, not sure. It was not a good moment. But pretty quick after the game, Virgil sent thumbs up, and so it was all fine.
What are the unique challenges that Leeds United will pose in front of an authentic full house at Elland Road?
Yeah, everybody tells me that the atmosphere must be absolutely outstanding. So I'm really looking forward to it. So that's good. So we have some people who can tell us how it will be with Millie and Jack Robinson. So that's good. But the game itself is already tricky. We saw it in the last 2 games we played against them. So it was the first time for me playing Leeds, and was really exciting, both games. So they have obviously a specific way of playing football, playing the game, with a strict man marking philosophy or idea in defending, and very, very flexible and very brave, very dynamic in possession. So it's a really good football team, and yeah, we have to be at our best to get something there.
Okay, thank you, Damien. We'll go to Juliet from the BBC, and then follow Juliet with James from TalkSport.
Hey, Jurgen, you're okay.
Hi.
I'm trying to get an understanding of the situation as it stands right now, and you mentioned about you found out when you were talking to Arsene Wenger, and there's been talks about the World Cup changing that too. It's the football calendar, you've spoken about that in the past as well, as reducing that because of the workload on the players. In a way, does this mess sort of present itself with an opportunity to try and find a solution to all these situations and to make it easier going forward because of the world that we've lived in the last 2 years?
There's no other sport in the world, I'm pretty sure, with such a relentless calendar. No physical sport. It's nowhere. Whatever you do, there are more demanding sports in the world. Whatever, light athletics, marathon runs, all these kind of things, of course. But they don't run 20 or 30 or 40 a year. Of course not. And other physical sports don't have this calendar. So we all know why it's happening. We all know that. It's whatever people say, that it's about giving different countries the opportunity. That's why we have more teams now at the World Cup, for example, that countries from wherever can play the World Cup as well, these kind of things. But in the end, it's all about money. That's how it is. So that's fine. I don't say we do it not because of money. We do because we love it. That's why we started it. But of course we get loads of money as well. So that's clear as the Premier League and the clubs. But in the end, at one point somebody has to start understanding that without the players the most important ingredients of this wonderful game, we cannot play it. So that's how it is. So whoever thinks is more important than the players, is it I don't know, the FIFA, the UEFA, the chairmans here, the players, the sporting directors there, the managers. So nobody's more important than the players. So, but we just deal with them. Like, imagine if there would be the case that every 2 years now will be a World Cup, then we can be 100% sure. Then it's every 2 years a European Championship as well. So that means for top class players, they just play every year a big tournament, every year. So that means they have, if it's possible, a 3-week break every year. And now you tell me, in a physical, very demanding sport, an explanation from people out there in, I don't know, in forums and stuff like, yeah, but they earn that much. That has nothing to do with that, because there's only one body they have, and that's what they have to use. So that's the situation. But it's always that all things which were came up in the last few years as new ideas, or a reform or whatever, were always about more games. It was never that. Years ago, there was already in England when we spoke about the Nations League. So, because there are too many, I read that today, I think Infantino said there are too many meaningless football games. There's no problem about a meaningless football game. Yes, but better if it's meaningless, don't play it. But if you have only competition, like Nations League now, when all managers are under pressure and want to qualify for whatever they can qualify or want to win the Nations League, that's really, really difficult. By making only competition, that we have never time for a preseason with the core, with the key players of a squad. They never have a preseason. They can never prepare for the season. They have to play without a break. That's really that's not right. In the long term, for sure not. We did that in the last couple of years, but well, you see, we spoke about that obviously very often already, and I say pretty much always the same. But it's absolutely not important what I say, obviously, because nobody listens. There are really the fights going on. For example, just to say that nobody thought about the players when they decided at FIFA and CONMEBOL that the last game of this 3 games run is Friday morning, our time, 1:30. And the next game could have been Saturday. The only thing they expect, of course, they cannot play that game, but they don't care. They just don't care. If we would have played, we play now Sunday, so if they come back this afternoon, they cannot play. So nobody cares about that. It's always one main interest, and all the rest is not interesting. There must be a point when UEFA, FIFA, and all the other confederations sit together and start thinking about a game, and not only about their benefit. But I'm already 54. I'm not sure I will be alive when that happens.
Thank you, Jules. I'm afraid we've only got time for one from everybody else before we go to the first breakout, and even apologies to people in the dailies. I can only take 3 or 4 in there as well, I'm afraid, because we've got a Sunday section. Let's go to James from TalkSport.
Jurgen, when are you expecting to get some clarity on whether Alisson or Fabinho can play on Sunday? And moving forward, what do you see the solution being? Because we've got 2 more breaks before Christmas when it comes to players travelling to red list countries.
I have no idea when I can expect a solution. We will see. I don't know in a moment when I have to make a decision about it, to be honest. So there will be a moment today. The training session obviously would be a very important one. It would be nice if we could train with the team I want to play on Sunday, but we will see. Second, a solution. So because of the World Cup coming up and the World Cup qualifiers will obviously have to be played, I think there are only 2 solutions. Either we say, okay, we make kind of a set list for the World Cup and say, come on, these teams like Brazil or Argentina, they are qualified anyway every year. So let them go to the World Cup. And in Europe, obviously, the same for some teams. It's not the nicest for competition, I know. And then the only other solution we have is obviously exemption from the government. So, and it's now, again, I can understand when people say, I cannot travel, but they are allowed to travel. Just to describe again the life we live. We live in bubbles. We live in a moment. It's again home, training ground, home. So done. That's a bubble. And when they move to the national teams, as far as we know, at least, it's exactly the same. So they live there in a bubble. So we are not part of normal life. That's why it worked. These kind of things worked really well. We had a European Championship in the summer, and it worked quite well. So it's not that the numbers increased now and we had people in the stadium, but we talk about these 22 players on the pitch plus 50, I don't know, all together around, that they would be a risk. They are of course not. They are of course not. So we have to make, at one point somebody has to make a decision. Otherwise we just move that problem from one international break to the next. And I cannot decide that, obviously, but it's not okay that in the end then only the players and the clubs get punished for it, because we had nothing to do with neither nor. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to James Mount for BBC for one, then Carl for one, and that'll finish the Open, and then I can take 3 or 4 in the daily breakout. James.
Yeah, again, just away from the situation with the Brazilian players, can I just ask a general question, please, about the transfer window, because that we've not had a chance to talk to you since that closed. Just generally speaking, how do you feel about the business you did during the transfer window?
Good. All okay. We sold some players, and we brought Ivo in. We sold some players. We gave some players on loan to give them more the possibility to get some games. So, all good.
That it, James? Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to Carl from the BBC. Carl from the Press Association finished. Gave you a new job at that work. Fire away.
Hi again. We saw Trent Alexander-Arnold playing in midfield for England during the international break. I'm not sure how much worthy experiment that was, but I just wondered, has it ever been a long-term consideration for you, or would it be in the future?
If you watch our games, you see that Trent's position already changed. Not in all games, but in games when it's possible, then the position changed already, so there's no need to make him now a midfield player. It's a little bit a shame that we talk still in 2021 like this about football and think about I play there and play, but players play everywhere, especially good players are very much everywhere. So Trent is not very often on the left wing, that's true, but on the right wing he was already everywhere on the pitch. In this game, in a game where England is that dominant, for example, when England is that dominant or when we are that dominant, then Trent could play midfield, definitely. I would rather think than the 6, than in this case 8. But that's possible. But why would you make the best right back in the world a midfielder? There's absolutely, I don't understand that really. As if the right back position is not as important as the others. If people say that, I struggle really to understand how you could think that. How can you be? Everybody thinks because he plays 10, or some people think because he plays 10 yards further up on the pitch, he would be more influential. Being more influential than Trent Alexander-Arnold in the last, I don't know how long he's playing now for me, is really tricky, and you have to be, need to have a proper look to find somebody. So he plays the right position. We adapt and we try to use his skill set, absolutely, but in the end, the right back is the one who defends the right side, and he's doing that really well. And all the rest, when we have the ball, we use him as good as we can.
Okay, fantastic.